Ladies and gentlemen, you know life's strange. We spend so much time trying to understand people, trying to figure out emotions, searching for signs, and sometimes the loudest signs come in silence. Let me say this, if he keeps showing up in your thoughts, even when there's no contact, it means something deeper is happening inside your heart. Now, I'm not saying it's love. I'm not saying it's fate. What I am saying is that your soul knows something that your mind hasn't fully understood yet. You ever had someone sit in your thoughts like a song you can't stop humming? Like no matter how long it's been, no matter how far apart you both have gone, they stay there, soft, steady, like they've claimed a quiet space in your mind. You're not talking, not texting, but somehow they're still there, day after day, night after night. And it doesn't always happen when you're thinking about them on purpose. Sometimes you're working, laughing with friends, doing something totally random, and out of nowhere they show up in your thoughts like they never even left. Now, I'm not here to tell you exactly what to feel, but I do want you to hear this. That is not something small. That's not just your imagination. When someone keeps popping into your mind without you even trying, that's an emotional link that goes beyond simple communication. That kind of connection doesn't need a phone, doesn't need updates, doesn't even need a single word. It lives inside you. It means something was planted in your spirit, some kind of memory, some kind of emotion, some kind of energy that refuses to fade. And feelings like that, they come from something real. Real moments, real feelings, real connection. You can pretend to smile. You can pretend a relationship meant nothing. You can pretend to be okay. But you cannot fake someone's energy lingering in your spirit long after they've left your life. That's something genuine. And it needs your attention, not your avoidance. A lot of people try to brush it off. They say, oh, I'm just missing the past, or maybe I'm just lonely, or it's nothing, just memories. No. See, if someone truly meant nothing to you, they don't stay in your soul. They don't stay on your heart. They disappear. But when someone is still there without a single word exchanged, it means something's holding that connection together, something invisible but strong, like a thread tied to your spirit. And it's not always about love. It could be a friend. It could be someone who shifted your world for a moment, someone you let go of but never really released from your heart. You might be wondering, why can't I stop thinking about him? But maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the real question is, what did he awaken in me that I still haven't come to terms with? Because that's what it really is. You're not just thinking about the person. You're thinking about the emotion. Maybe they made you feel seen in a way no one else ever did. Maybe they made you feel safe. Maybe they brought out the best parts of you. Or maybe they hurt you in a way nobody ever helped you heal. Whatever it was, their presence in your mind is trying to tell you something. Now, don't get it twisted. Thinking about someone all the time doesn't automatically mean you two are meant to be. It doesn't mean you should run back to them, but it does mean you need to face what they brought into your life. Maybe that thought in your mind is asking for closure. Maybe it wants a second chance, or maybe, just maybe, it wants forgiveness. Forgiveness for them. Forgiveness for yourself. Forgiveness for how it all unfolded. Do you know how many people carry around pain, bitterness, walls, because they never stop to understand why that one person never left their thoughts? They just keep pushing it down, pretending it doesn't matter. But real strength, it's not pretending you don't care. Real strength is facing the feelings, saying, yeah, he's still in my thoughts. Yeah, I still feel something, and now I need to understand what that means. Maybe y'all never got to talk things out. Maybe you said things you regret. Maybe the timing wasn't right. Or maybe the timing was perfect, but fear got in the way. Either way, Whether there was closure or not, the connection remained. And that's powerful. That means what you two had or what you felt was real. And real things don't disappear so easily. Now listen, you don't owe anyone a phone call just because you're thinking about them, but you do owe yourself honesty. You owe yourself a moment of reflection. What does this feeling actually mean? Is it love? Is it regret? Is it just gratitude? Or is it a lesson? Whatever it is, let it speak. Don't cover it up with distractions. Don't bury it with pride, because when someone keeps showing up in your thoughts without you trying, that's your heart whispering. That's your soul gently saying, this meant something. This still matters. Look deeper. And when you take a moment to sit with that, to truly listen, to maybe even pray on it, that's when clarity starts to come. That's when you begin to see what you need. Whether it's peace, healing, forgiveness, or reconnection, that thought is pointing you in a direction. You just have to stop running from it. So the next time he pops up in your mind out of the blue, don't just brush it off. Ask yourself, what's this moment trying to show me? What's this thought really telling me? Because when someone keeps coming back to your mind, even without a single word between you, it's not about what they're saying. It's about what you're still feeling. And that right there is where truth begins. Do you ever feel like something deep inside is trying to speak to you, but it's not loud, it's not shouting, it's just there, quiet but firm? That's your spirit talking. That's your inner guide. And let me tell you, when someone won't leave your thoughts, even when months or years have passed, that's not just a random feeling. That's a message, a sign, and more often than not, it's coming from within you. See, we spend so much time waiting for signs from the outside, waiting for a text, looking for social media posts, asking others for advice. But the most honest signs, they live inside of you. When someone stays in your mind without a single conversation, it's not always about them. Sometimes it's about what your spirit's trying to tell you. Your intuition, that small voice inside, is tied to the truth. And I'm not talking about facts, I mean truth. The kind of truth that stays steady no matter what. That truth shows up when your heart and your spirit meet. And when someone won't leave your thoughts, it's usually your intuition saying, there's still something here you need to look at. Maybe there's a door you never closed. Maybe there's a wound you never treated. Maybe there's a chapter you were too scared to finish and it's still sitting open. Now here's the thing about intuition. It doesn't scream. It doesn't chase after you. It waits. It waits for you to slow down, to get quiet, to really listen. Sometimes it uses memories. Sometimes it uses dreams. Sometimes it just keeps sending that one thought again and again until you finally stop and ask, what is this really about? Now let me bring faith into this, because sometimes it's not just your spirit, it's God. See, God doesn't always speak in loud, dramatic ways. A lot of times he speaks in quiet moments, through your thoughts, through your gut feelings. When he wants to protect you or redirect you or reconnect you, he'll place that person on your heart, not to confuse you, not to stress you, but to guide you. And here's where most people miss it. They feel the emotions rising and push them away. They get scared. They distract themselves. But that gentle voice, it keeps returning. That thought keeps knocking. And every time it brings the same soft message. There's something you need to understand. There's something in this connection that's asking for your attention. Sometimes it's about forgiveness. Maybe they caused you pain. Maybe you hurt them. Maybe it ended messy and you never got to make it right. That person on your mind might be your spirit's way of saying, It's time to let this go. And sometimes you don't get to talk it out. Sometimes closure is something you give yourself. Other times, that thought is your nudge to reach out. Now, I know it's scary. You start thinking, what if they ignore me? What if I look foolish? But when your soul is restless and that person won't leave your heart, that might be God whispering, just say something. Just see. And that small step, it might lead to healing. It might bring clarity. It might even open a new chapter. But not every message is about reconnecting. Sometimes it's just about remembering who you were, how you felt, who you became around them. Maybe they saw something in you others didn't. Maybe you laughed more, lived louder, loved deeper. That memory, it's not just about them, it's about you. It's your soul saying, don't forget who you are. That version of you, bring that back. You don't need them to remind you who you are. You already carry that power within you. You've just got to learn how to understand those moments when someone keeps showing up in your mind. Don't just ask, why now? Ask, what for? What is this moment here to teach me? What's the message hidden beneath this quiet space? What truth am I avoiding facing? And if you feel scared to face it, it's completely normal. We're human. We crave comfort. But real growth doesn't come from comfort. Truth isn't always soft. And emotional clarity, that's a deep journey. But let me tell you this. If you keep ignoring what your heart keeps trying to tell you, it'll keep returning. Louder and louder until you finally do something about it. So stop pushing it away. Stop pretending it's meaningless. That thought, that feeling, it's your intuition, it's your soul. Maybe it's even God trying to tell you something isn't finished here. And unfinished doesn't always mean conflict. Sometimes it means evolution. Sometimes it means letting go of something that's been silently weighing you down. We don't always get to understand why someone stays in our hearts the way they do, but we do have the power to sit with that feeling, to turn inward and ask, what am I meant to learn from this? And when you finally ask that, when you get quiet enough to truly hear the answer, you'll be amazed at how suddenly the fog clears. The anxiety fades, the confusion settles, and you begin to walk a little lighter, a little steadier, a little wiser. Because those thoughts that won't leave, they're not meaningless, they're not signs of weakness, they're sacred. They're pulling you toward a deeper layer of who you are, and maybe, just maybe, toward a deeper truth with someone whose energy has always been tied to yours, whether you understood it or not. Let me talk to you from the heart for a second. Have you ever noticed how pride builds the thickest walls, not just around your heart, but around your healing? It blocks love. It blocks growth. It blocks connection. Pride shows up wearing silence, ego, fear, and I'm fine. But deep down, we know it's not fine. Deep down, in those quiet moments, that one person still comes to mind. And just because y'all aren't talking anymore doesn't mean there's no connection. In fact, sometimes that connection grows louder in the silence. You feel it in the stillness. You feel it when you scroll past their post, pretending you're unaffected, but your heart just skipped. You feel it when someone says their name and suddenly your whole energy shifts. That's not just memory. That's not a fluke. That's a connection, a strong one, a deep one. And pride, it wants you to ignore that. It wants you to bury it. Because pride can't stand vulnerability. But let me tell you something real about vulnerability. It's not weakness. It's strength dressed up as softness. So many people think showing emotions, reaching out, admitting you care, that it's weak. But no, weakness is hiding when you know you should speak. Weakness is pretending not to care when your soul is aching. Being vulnerable, that's power. It takes courage. It takes growth. It takes a decision to stop running and face what's real. But pride doesn't want any of that. Pride wants you stuck. Pride wants you to win the I don't care game. But what do you really win? Emptiness, regret, missed moments that could have meant everything. You can win the argument and still lose the person. You can guard your pride and destroy your own peace in the process. But peace, that's what we're really after, right? Here's what's true. When your soul connects with another soul, it doesn't just disappear because of distance or silence. It doesn't vanish because of time. It lingers. It stays. It taps on your heart from time to time, reminding you that something there was real. You could be miles apart. You could be months away from your last message, but something inside still stirs when you think of them. You still dream about them. You still hear their voice when something reminds you of who you were with them. That's not nostalgia. That's not just memory. That's a living connection trying to breathe through the silence. Now, I'm not saying you have to reach out. I'm not saying you need to run back. But I am saying recognize when pride is the only thing blocking you from understanding something important. Because while pride might shut down conversation, it can't kill the connection. It only delays the healing, and it makes peace harder to find. We've all been there. We've all let ego get louder than love. We've all walked away when we probably should have leaned in. We've all typed out a message and deleted it. Or worse, sent one we didn't really mean. And that pain, it doesn't always come from what was said. Sometimes it comes from what was never said at all. When someone lives in your thoughts long after they've left your life, that's not coincidence. That's your spirit tapping on a door you thought you locked. And the key? It's honesty. It's humility. It's the courage to say, I miss you, or I'm sorry, or just, are you doing okay? Sometimes it's not about fixing what was. Sometimes it's just about honoring what is with truth, not silence. I've seen people hold on to grudges so long they forgot the reason for the anger. I've watched love slip away for no reason other than two hearts too afraid to say, let's talk. And in the end, they don't feel strong. They feel empty. Because silence screams when the heart is still full. So ask yourself, what are you protecting? Is it pride? Is it fear? Is it ego pretending to be peace? Or are you just avoiding the truth because it hurts too much to feel? Because real peace doesn't come from acting like you don't care. It comes from being brave enough to care in a world that tells you not to. It comes from choosing softness when you've been taught to harden. It comes from having the guts to break the silence when everything in you wants to stay quiet. That person who keeps showing up in your thoughts, they're not random. They're not just a ghost from your past. They're a reminder, a symbol, a nudge that what you once had still matters, even if the talking stopped, even if life pulled you apart. And sometimes they're thinking of you too, wondering the same things, feeling the same tug, but they're battling their pride just like you. And when two people both stay silent out of fear or pride, that's how beautiful connections quietly fade away. But it doesn't have to be like that. Sometimes it just takes one brave second, one message, one call, one real word. And even if nothing comes of it, even if it doesn't lead to anything else, it changes everything inside you because you chose truth over fear. And that, my friend, is where healing starts, where peace grows, where love can finally breathe again. Sometimes we're so caught up in the pace of life, we forget the power of stillness. We think we have to always be doing, always distracting ourselves. But the most important truths don't show up when we're busy. They rise in the quiet. They appear when we stop running, stop avoiding, and just sit with our thoughts. We've all had that moment when someone pops into our mind for no reason. No text, no message, just there. And not once, but again and again. Until you stop and wonder, why do they keep showing up in my heart? Because when a soul keeps visiting your mind, it means there's something unfinished, something unsaid, something that still holds space inside you. And maybe you've ignored it, maybe you've brushed it off, but it keeps returning. Most people won't stop to reflect. We're always reaching for our phones, always looking for distractions, because sitting in silence means feeling things we'd rather avoid. The memories, the regrets, the what-ifs, the emotions we thought we buried. But here's the truth. Avoiding them doesn't erase them. It just delays their return, and they always come back. Especially in the quiet, especially when you're still. That's why reflection matters, not to live in the past, but to understand it, to understand yourself, to understand the truth of what your soul is trying to tell you. Maybe you keep thinking about him because there was no real goodbye, or because what you had was real, but fear took the lead. Or maybe it's not even about him anymore. It's about who you were when you were with him. More alive, more sure of yourself, more open. And now, maybe you miss that version of you. You won't know until you stop and ask. Not just quick thinking, but real reflection. The kind that makes you uncomfortable, the kind that brings clarity. That's where healing begins. That's where the peace you've been craving finds its place. And some of you might say, well, if he cared, he'd reach out. Maybe, but not always. People don't always say what they feel. Sometimes pride, pain, fear, or just bad timing keeps people quiet. So don't measure the depth of the connection only by the noise. Sometimes the deepest ones are the quietest. And sometimes the most meaningful ones show up again and again without saying a single word,